This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, I'm Anita Joyce here with Kelly Wilkness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today we are talking Chateau core. So I am in my element today, Kelly. I'm loving this French vibe.
Yes, we are so excited. We have the worldwide expert in adding French flair and French accents to the home.
Too much pressure.
You can handle it. So this episode not only was prompted by, Anita's love of all things French, but because we have encountered a few people recently in consults that mentioned that they really like French style. They want to add a little French flair to their home. And because we stumbled upon Chateau core on the internet. So that is a thing. Core as a suffix have been added to a lot of looks to signify that it is a particular trend online or like sort of a subculture community that's really into blank core. So we've seen core such as cottagecore. To my mind, that was sort of the first one. And there was Barbiecore, which Anita alluded to a couple of episodes ago. And other ones like mermaidcore, you might have missed that one, or normcore, which is said to be the first one, but I never heard of that one. And that is a suburban anti-fashion look. So I don't know if anybody's really into that. There's grannycore, which should not be confused or crossed with the Nancy Myers look because Nancy is no granny. And I don't know if you ever heard of tomato core, but apparently that was last summer's hot core, and it's a Mediterranean seaside vibe. And then gorp core, which celebrates outdoor clothing and gear. Okay, so there's a lot of cores. No surprise. It sort of started on TikTok and maybe Instagram as well, but mostly TikTok. So using the suffix core in this way is used to categorize and define various design trends with a playful or internet-driven twist. And it's borrowed from hardcore, which signifies a passionate embrace of a particular style. So Anita, your hardcore Chateau.
I suppose that's the way to say it. And when I looked on the internet to see what Chateau core is, according to the internet, it takes a relaxed approach, blending classic French sophistication with the romance of rural countryside living. The key to nailing this look, designers say, is creating contrast between old and new, rustic and sophisticated, polished and charmingly imperfect. Kelly, when I read this, it sounded to me like my book, French Accents, on how to mix farmhouse style with French style. And it's all about mixing the rustic with the refined and elegance with casual charm. So
yeah, it's Anita core. That's really what we're talking about today. Anita core is on trend. Always has been. Classic. Never going to go out of style. But you're a hot core on TikTok now.
I think French never really goes out of style, but it becomes hot. It sometimes cools off, comes back.
Let's toss the core and learn from our expert today about adding French flair or French accents to your home.
Well, and I think the key can be balance. I wouldn't say I went balanced. I went core. I went hardcore French, definitely with my home. Everything was kind of over the top French. And now I'm have enough French in my home. I'm adding some other elements, but you definitely need some specific identifiable French elements in your room as your foundation, basically. If you want this look, you need to have some French chairs, French chests, French armoires, or just a few one or two, but you have to have that in the room because that's what gives you the nod to the French style. If you don't have any piece of French furniture in the room, it's going to be hard to pull this look off because it is based on a French aesthetic. I suggest going to antiques. They're very reasonably priced these days, I think. But if you cannot find an antique, you can buy a newer piece. But you definitely, I think, need those French pieces, at least a few, in your house to have this look.
Yeah, and the antique is so much better, right? I mean, that's going to add the true French feel and sort of the gravitas to the room.
Well, if you don't have the French furniture in there, I don't think it's really French.
Yeah, but I'm saying even a reproduction.
True. Yes, I think I have a mix of both, so I think you can definitely do both. And it mixes so well with English antiques. I have a lot of English antiques too, and the styles just work very beautifully together. So I think you can put those in. Everything in the room does not need to be French. Everything does not need to be antique. In fact, I think it's nice to do a mix of both.
Yeah, well, it really shouldn't be. And that's sort of what I have a problem with this whole core thing, because when you see this actually in a home or in a space, someone's doing a video on their cottage core, their whatever core, it's so that is almost like a caricature of the style rather than actually having style, which is a big difference. And, maybe if it is a lot of people that are just getting into design, they feel like they have to go all the way. If you're cottage core, everything has to have a ruffle on it or lacy or this or that or the other thing. And same with the French look. If there's nothing else mixed in, then I feel like you're kind of, as I mentioned, like a caricature of the style rather than actually exuding style.
Just keep that in mind, mix in both. Another thing to add in your room is silver. Silver with patina. You can have champagne buckets, silver trays, silver water pitchers, silver boxes. I think it adds some elegance to the room. And here's the beauty of it. It doesn't actually have to be French. Just something that looks like maybe it came from a chateau and you brought it home with you. I mean, that's kind of a way to think of this. So definitely something with some shimmer, some elegance. And it's okay if it has a little tarnish on it.
Oh, it most definitely is okay. I think it's even better if it has a little tarnish on it. Don't sweat the tarnish.
I know that's your philosophy for sure. The next thing to add are oil paintings, old, vintage, and antique oil paintings. I have a penchant for portraits. So I have a lot of portraits of people from a long time ago that I find just very fascinating, beautiful, but also a countryside. Again, it doesn't have to be French, but just something old world. And really this style, I could also call it an old world style with a French direction to it, basically.
Unless somebody really knows. I mean, you are so knowledgeable in all your different kings and their styles and the Louis and the Philippes and all of that. But, most people aren't. If it has that feel to it, even if it's a piece from a different country or whatnot, it still might give off the French vibes.
Right. And a lot of times people choose Italian things as French. They're not. But again, you can mix it. It works well. It gets the idea across. I kind of think about something that looks like maybe came from a very elegant European home.
An example of that is those Florentine nesting tables that we love so much.
Right. Right. That's right. They're Italian. But they're considered very French these days.
Yes. Yeah.
Another thing to think about are French mirrors. There are a lot of mirrors that are very specifically French. Now, I've seen online people call any curvy mirror French, and I think you can probably get away with that. But if you really want to be serious about this, there are a few specific styles that are definitely French. Louis Philippe mirrors, I actually have some from the Louis Philippe period, early 1800s, from France, that are just beautiful. I bought some of these pieces from a couple from Paris, and they were moving back, and she said she was going to sell a few things that she could easily replace, and apparently the Louis Philippe mirrors are pretty easy to replace. So she's like, oh yeah, just take it. It's from my husband's family. So so
did you give her one of Kevin's scrapbooks, like as a barter? Here, this is from my husband's family.
I gave her money.
Oh, okay.
American dollars, which she can convert to euros.
They still work, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. Trumeau mirrors, those are the rectangular mirrors, and they tend to be more of a portrait direction rather than landscape. And there's often a painted scene at the top, or there's other decoration. When you see these, unless they're very expensive, they're probably reproduction, but that's okay. I think it's something that can be very beautiful in a room. Another traditional French mirror is the Oeil de Boeuf mirror, and that's a mirror. It's translated bullseye mirror. But there's English bullseye mirrors and French bullseye mirrors. They're not the same at all.
God, we're learning so much today.
The English bullseye mirror kind of is like a funhouse mirror. It distorts the look when you look in the mirror. Uh-huh. But an Oeil de Boeuf mirror, the shape around the mirror itself kind of looks like an eyebrow, and the eyelashes and the around the eye part of the bull. And a lot of times these are done in zinc. So those are some authentic mirrors. There's so many authentic French mirrors that you can go with. There's so many different shapes. And again, you can find a mirror that maybe is Italian but looks kind of French, and that will work as well. And the antique ones are my favorites, but there are many new mirrors that look beautiful as well, especially the Louis Philippe. There's a lot of new mirrors that are made like that. They're beautiful too.
Are you still using the same makeup you used in your 20s? Well, it's time for a change, and that change should be to Jones Road Beauty. I cannot tell you how much I love this beauty line. Jones Road Beauty is a minimalist makeup brand founded by makeup artist Bobbi Brown, and it creates versatile, easy-to-use products that simplify your routine. It's clean makeup that actually performs. And in particular, their Miracle Balm, well, it is aptly named because it is a miracle product. You put it on, it's effortless, it feels great, and you have this glow about you. I use it every day. Oftentimes, it's the only product I use. So if you've been using the same makeup for a long time, or you're having frustrations with your makeup in general, come on over to Jones Road Beauty with me. Make the change to modern-day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for an effortless routine. And for a limited time, our listeners are going to get a free cool gloss on their first purchase when they use the code DTT at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use the code DTT at checkout. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. And of course, please tell them it's from Decorating Tips and Tricks.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
For fabrics, I think my biggest takeaway that I can give you is go with natural fibers and avoid the synthetic. I think that's very important. If you want this look of the old world, polyester, rayon, these are not old world looks. You're looking for wool, linen, cotton, silk. These are the fabrics that are going to look more elegant. You can go with floral cottons, vintage tapestries. Toile is definitely French, and I think that's what people think of when they think of French fabric, but that's just one style. There's so many other beautiful French fabrics out there. Maison de Hermine has many French tablecloths, curtains. That's a great place to go to look for very authentic French designs. It doesn't have to be from France. I have a French linen press in the room I'm sitting in right now, and I actually went to Anthropologie and bought these beautiful embroidered panels. I'll link to them if they still have them, with the embroidered curtain panels and the linen press in here. It looks very Chateau together.
We're definitely changing that to Anita Core. So just drop the Chateau. I mean, come on. And when I thought of Chateau Core, when we first started talking about this, because you had tripped upon it on the internet, because all things French come to you, Chateau, I'm thinking coats of armor,
yes.
moats, long tables with giant candelabras.
Heavy tapestries, right.
Yeah, they really are just talking about everything that's in your books.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because when I first saw that, I thought, oh, maybe this is a more high-end look because there's country French and then there's more of an elegant, a higher-end French. Country French is kind of casual French, basically.
Right.
But it really was just the same thing, only maybe packaged with a different name. But I think it's very much what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, but it's just somebody that thinks French and Chateau and added the suffix.
I think at one point there was a strong interest in everything being as authentic as possible. Now I think people just don't care. So I don't think that there's as much interest in it being authentic. I think they just want the vibe. Back
then, it was sort of that, what is that, French provincial? Was that sort of an Americanized French look, like my white-ish bedroom furniture as a young gal with the gold paint? I say gilded in a very loose way.
Well, the furniture I wanted that I didn't get, yes.
Oh,
I know
gosh,
exactly.
I forgot. I'm sorry I brought that up again.
Yes, it's a painful memory.
I didn't have a canopy, so I didn't go all the way. But I did have the dresser and the bed frame and the vanity.
Well, I wish you had had the canopy.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad you did get it.
Well, my bedroom was dormered, so we couldn't manage the canopy.
Okay. Yes, for those of you that missed the story, I was promised this canopy bed, and we moved, and then I was told they no longer had it in stock, and that was the end of the story. There was no effort to buy me something else. I never even had a headboard on my bed until I got married. And that's when I just said, every bed in my house is going to have a headboard. I will never go hungry again. I will never have a bed without a headboard again.
And across the country, my French provincial bedroom set was being delivered from Sears as you were being lied to.
It's just terrible, isn't it?
So I'm sorry I brought that up, Anita. But I do want to get back to those colors because, there was that time, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it was the reds and the golds and the greens was sort of French country.
Well, and the cornflower blue. I mean, you can't have country French without cornflower blue. And the reds they used were kind of an orangey red.
Yeah. But that's not happening anymore. I don't see that in Chateau Core or certainly not in your beautiful books.
Well, and I would say, again, everything we do in the U.S. is an interpretation and often has very little to do with the way people really live in France. Let's be real here. People in France, most people don't even decorate. It's just stuff they've had for a long time. And if they decorate and they're into decor, they've usually gone the opposite way. And they've ditched the antiques. So I see a lot of decorating in France, and it's all contemporary.
Don't we have an episode about that? About actual French decorating by French people?
Yes, about how they really don't decorate. That's true.
Right. Maybe we could pull that up and put it in the show notes, because today is a very different thing. We're kind of took our lead from this Chateau Core thing, and then we're talking about, as you aptly said, sort of an American interpretation of it, and specifically your gorgeous interpretation of it, which is so aspirational, but also doable.
Oh, I think
here's a plug for your books, especially if they buy your book. Well,
that's true, and I didn't really say, but you can still get my book, French Accents, on Amazon. The second edition is still available in print. The first edition, I guess it can be bought secondhand, but anyway, I recommend the second edition. It's got a kind of a purpley pink circle on the front, so if you see that, that's the right edition.
Well, I'm certainly not selling mine, even if people offered me lots and lots of money for them. I think mine could possibly be signed as well.
Oh, yeah, yours is for sure.
Yeah. Well, you could email me on the side. No, of course. They're sitting right here. They're right next to me. They're always
well, in your books,
me.
I have 2 of your books, and they're in my bookcase upstairs where I pull them out and look at them beautifully done.
Wow. And I only have 1 book, so you have 2 copies of
I
the
have
same
2
book.
copies.
That's a real friend. That's a real friend.
Isn't it just?
Then what's next? So we talked about fabrics and antiques and mirrors and chairs. What else we've got?
Dishes are in there somewhere. There's going to be dishes in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Faience, majolica, transferware, all of this is going to work. Anything old is probably going to work very well with this look. Definitely the faience is traditionally French, so you can go with that. But again, you can go with dishes that aren't actually French. I have a lot of transferware dishes. Some are French, some are not. Once you start looking at these dishes, you can look at a plate, you can look at a bowl, and you'll know if it's French or English or something else. I mean, I look at this stuff enough. I can look at a compote dish and tell you whether it's French or not. But you'll see what I'm talking about if you start looking at them. So I have a lot of French ones, and they are really beautiful. They are very unique. But again, any of these pieces are going to work very well with French style. And even the white ironstone, I think, goes beautifully with a French look.
It definitely does. I mean, I would not consider myself Chateau core in any way, shape, or form. I do have some French pieces, but they're sort of dotted in with other things. Definitely when you go into a space that's been decorated by Anita, you sense the Frenchness, the French flair, the leaning into the French look much more than you would in my look. That being said, you can just use a little bit of this because, as Anita has said to us many times in the past, a little French chair does so much for any space. Or maybe you could also say a little French mirror would do a lot for any space. So even just a little touch of it is really going to make a big impact, an outsized impact on your look. And there's another tip in something you just said, so I want to kind of pull that out, is Anita said something about, she can tell a French bowl or dish or coupe or something like that when she sees a compote dish, I think you said, or a compote. You can too, right? You just have to train your eye. You have to see what the real thing is, which is always a suggestion of ours. Educate yourself on the real thing, whether it's on the internet or in books or in real life, and you're out and you're looking. And then as you learn, like, what is the defining feature of this thing, fill in the blank, whatever the thing is, a mirror, a plate, a piece of furniture. What are you looking for, so you can kind of get a sense of where it is originating from and what time period it's originating from. It's not a mystery that's unattainable to you. You can learn these things. And specifically if you drill down to a certain thing, maybe something you like to collect, it's just a matter of taking the time to enjoy it, to educate yourself about it, and then to experience it. And then you could decide, oh, do I want to really go for the real thing? Or, hey, look at this reproduction. It looks so good, and it's 1/3 of the price. I'm going to add that to my home.
Another thing to think about, it's the rustic with the refined. So let's talk about the rustic elements. We've been focusing on the French elements, but here are some rustic things you can add. Wood dough bowls, wood cutting boards, demijohn glass bottles, ceramic, brass, or antique silver candlesticks. Anything that you can think of that might be from a farm. But on these, I recommend that you go with the real thing rather than the reproduction, because some of those reproductions are pretty bad. So I would go with the real thing. Another thing that is decidedly French, though, is the watering cans, and they're rustic and French. They have a very specific look. They do not look like American or English watering cans, but if you find these will elevate your space and help it look very authentic.
What about grain sacks?
Oh, yes, that's true. And I still have quite a stack, although I've sold So many. But grain sacks are great for runners on your table. You can stuff them with pillows. So many things you can use these for. And you can buy a reproduction grain sack fabric, which I think works well for pillows. But those grain sacks really do give it a French vibe and a farmhouse vibe, although a lot of the ones I have are not actually from France. I think they got them from Belgium and Germany. Mm-hmm. The grain sacks look the same in all these European countries when they were made. And I bought the ones from a long time ago, so mine are actually linen. If you get the ones that are very rough, I don't like those. And those tend to be the newer ones. And I don't think those are so nice.
Yeah, I got on that grain sack thing early on, too. So the people that I purchased them from at the Rose Bowl had them, a lot of them from France, and then it became other European countries, and now they're sourcing them from places like Transylvania.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah. I guess that's right. I saved the best ones, and any of them that were monogrammed, I saved those. So I still have a pretty healthy stack, but I'm going to give you a tip here. If you're going to Round Top, I sold a massive amount of my country French items to my friend Bonnie, who has a booth. It's called Be Original, and it's at the 303 building in Round Top. Now, it's open year round, but she's definitely available. But she's definitely there during the show, but she's also there year round. She has so much of my stuff that just did not fit in my new house. I think this was my biggest load I've ever sold her. So if you're looking for it, she's got it.
I think you took me to her store.
I might have.
Well, I couldn't help myself because I do collect old watering cans, and I have a little collection of them actually on the side of our front steps. Ooh, these are expensive. And I see the difference. I didn't know what the difference was. Oh. We can maybe include this in the show notes, because everybody needs to have a site they can go to that sells just rustic, antique French watering cans for
how much are they?
Of $900 US.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't spend that much. Well, she got a great deal because I sold her one of my French watering cans, white with the blue stripe, but I kept the two blue ones that I had that I just really love.
Oh, yeah. It really is a different look. It looks much more like a jug. Am I right?
Right. But they're skinny, tall, and they have a narrow little lip, whereas the English ones and the American ones tend to be very round and fat.
Yeah, with a different kind of spout. It also doesn't seem to have like one of those sprinkler type heads on the spout.
That's correct. So a few more things for you. Another thing to add are old books. And I think vintage books are just so beautiful to add to any room. You can use them as a riser. You can stick them in a bookcase, just use some bookends. I think they're wonderful. On these, I would use the vintage if you really want to get this Chateau core thing going in your home. I wouldn't use the new books for this.
Yeah, old books are great. And if they can have a French wording on the spine, all the better. I have a old French dictionary that I love to use as a riser. Yeah, it's really thick. Yeah. I mean, why do I need that? I don't speak French. I don't look up words in French, but it looks really good on my side table.
You mean you just hit Google Translate?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, or I don't even talk French at all. Speak French.
Right. So another thing to add, and again, this is kind of on the rustic side, are the vintage baskets. You can get new ones as well, but the vintage ones do have a wonderful patina and a wonderful look. My favorite are the large French laundry baskets that are rectangular and they have handles on each side. I kept, I think, all of my French laundry baskets, but I did sell a bunch of other ones. I had a lot of stuff. What can I tell you?
Okay, Anita. Well, have we covered the core?
Yeah, I think we've covered the key points. And I think if we were going to do any more, we would have to do like an entire 8-hour course on it or something. But I think this definitely hit the high points.
So are you saying between the lines there, get the book?
I wasn't, but okay.
All righty. What are we defining today? I hope it's something French.
Well, we're going to talk about some French kings, but we are actually, I'm going to say we're exploring the fork. I'm not really defining it, but exploring it. Because it...
I like this. Yeah, we're going beyond the definition.
Right. Because it has a storied past. The word fork comes from the Latin furca. F-U-R-C-A.
Okay.
It means pitchfork. And long before forks were used at the table, they were used to remove food from boiling pots, and that was really all they were used for. The first dining forks were used by the ruling class in the Middle East and the Byzantine Empire. In the year 1004, Maria Argyropoulos married the Doge of Venice. And see, they had Doge back then.
They got rid of them, too, I guess.
Yeah, they got rid of it. Anyway, she brought a little case of two-pronged golden forks, which she used at her wedding feast. Sounds nice, right?
Oh, Maria, yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, 3 years later, Maria died of the plague. And mean old St. Peter Damian announced it was God's punishment for using a fork.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. So after that announcement, the fork wasn't popular.
So God said, fork you, Maria? That's not nice.
The fork wasn't popular for 400 years after that. Talk about an influencer.
That would scare people off.
And that is just amazing to me. This one guy pronounces it's evil and then no one uses it? Oh my goodness, yeah. In 1533, Catherine de' Medici brought forks from Italy to France when she married Henry II. She used a large carving fork when cutting meat and small dainty forks for eating dessert. But she did not use a fork for the main part of the meal like we do today. Mm-hmm. Finally, in 1633, King Charles I of England declared it is decent to use a fork. We needed a royal pronouncement for people to start using them again.
Catherine, she has an interesting story. You know, she's known as the Serpent Queen, and there's a fabulous show. I should save this for a crush, but I'm going to give it to you.
Oh, goody.
Oh, it's so good. The Serpent Queen. Look for it. It's fantastic. And I'm going to say, don't be disappointed. I'm not sure they're having another season. Peter and I always say, why do people not love what we love?
We say the same thing here.
Like, what? The show gets 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Why are they not making more of it? So I can't guarantee you're going to get an ending, but you could always read about her. And now you know this secret thing. I don't think there was any portion of the episodes about the forks, but man, does she have an interesting story beside the forks, which I find fascinating in and of itself. But yes, okay.
So in 1633, King Charles I of England declared it is decent to use a fork, ushering in what many consider to be the beginning of civilized dining, although it took almost a century before forks were commonplace and accepted in society. So isn't that interesting? A formal royal proclamation had to be made before people felt comfortable using forks.
It's crazy. Well, I guess that the plague thing really.
Well, that was the death knell.
Yeah, that would maybe dissuade someone from using a fork for 400 plus years.
Right.
Crazy.
So, all right. Well, the story goes on. There's a little bit more. The wealthy would have a fork and knife set that they would travel with. And they wouldn't have a big set of them. They would just have their own personal ones, just like people had their own personal napkin that they would use. Then it wasn't until the early 1700s that people began to buy multiple sets of silverware for their home so that they had enough flatware for themselves, their family, and their guests. And here's an interesting fact about Louis XIV and silverware. He did not allow his children to eat with forks.
Because of the plague, or he was just...
Well, I don't know. But anyway, and then in 1669, he decreed that knives brought to the dinner table had to have brown down points to cut down on violence at banquets. You know, the French put their forks tines down, pointed down, whereas the English and Americans do it pointed up. So that's another little fun fact.
So if you're super Chateau core,
oh, that's right.
Core Chateau core, flip those forks over.
Well, get some French forks because the design is on the back.
Yeah, because if you're just doing your regular stainless upside down, it's kind of...
I don't know. I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, that's trying too hard.
So what's your crush?
Oh, so I tried to keep on theme today. It's a terrific podcast interview with Jamie Beck. I think a lot of people probably know who Jamie Beck is. She's a photographer, came to real prominence during COVID when she was doing her beautiful photography each day. And then she decided to sell it because she had to support herself because she had moved to Provence and left her very busy, high-flying lifestyle in New York where she was photographing for our magazines and brands and decided to just lead a simpler life in Provence. And she went, and it's a really interesting interview on what the impetus was for that life change, what her life is like in France, and what the differences are. And I think you'll really enjoy it. She's a wonderful guest of a wonderful host on a podcast that I absolutely adore called Why Women Grow. It's hosted by Alice Vincent, who has a very dreamy British accent. And then she interviews Jamie Beck. So I will include that as a link in the show notes.
Ooh, I can't wait to listen to that episode. Okay, so my crush is not actually French, but it would work with French design.
Oh, okay.
And that is a rattan tissue box cover. I found this one on Amazon, less than $20.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time, fabulous, fun, wow, even better than I had hoped or expected. These are just a few of the words used to describe a DTT design consult. We've been doing consults for many years, and boy, are we good at it. And people are loving the results of the advice and suggestions that we make for them. It's so easy to schedule a consult with us. Just simply go to our website, decoratingtipsandtricks.com, and click consult. There you'll be led through the very simple process. And sooner than later, you, I, and Anita will be discussing your home in detail. So sign up for a consult today. Let us help you design and decorate the home that you want and deserve. Looking forward to talking to you soon.